there's an evil entity in the house.
You are about to see real people.
I was terrified beyond belief.
Reliving horrifying paranormal encounters for the first time.
I truly felt it was like living in hell. As
spirits protect the living and their property.
My wife would hear voices.
There was something definitely going on.
They're here to protect our family.
If I didn't go through it, I wouldn't believe it.
Be prepared to be afraid.
Set up 3, take 1, 80 common mark, soft sticks.
I am a single mother of an 11-year-old boy. It's always just been the two of us, just me and him. I live in a house, and it's been divided into 2 apartments. I have the upstairs. I grew up on the next street, and my mother still lives there, and, like, all my childhood memories are there. I love the neighborhood. And it's just quiet, calm street, not a lot of traffic. I like it a lot. After I signed the lease, I had a really bad dream. And it's one of those dreams that really scares you. I dreamt that there was a decapitated girl in the bathtub of the apartment. There was no water in the tub, but she was kind of folded over herself, bent over her knees, down by the drain, and she was blue and dead.
In the days before she moved in, Nikki's horrific dream became a recurring nightmare.
I kept seeing a dead girl with no head, and I kept thinking about what I was going to do. And I knew I was being irrational. I'm like, oh, there's no way this place is haunted. And I just kind of tried to forget about it, but it stuck with me for at least 3 or 4 days. And I moved in.
But despite Nikki's best efforts to put it out of her mind, it wasn't long before she started noticing some weird things happening.
One day, I went into the bathroom. And my towel rack was on the floor. And I didn't think anything of it. I mean, the screws fell out, so I figured, oh, well, somebody just didn't anchor them properly, or it wasn't very strong. So I just put it back up and forgot about it. Later that day, I was watching TV in the living room. All of a sudden, my pot rack's vaulting off the wall into the middle of the kitchen floor. I picked it up and examined it. I tried to put it back on the wall, but the screws were still on the wall. There was no way to get it back on the wall. It didn't fit. It didn't go. You'd have to unscrew the screws to put it back on the wall. It didn't just fall. It flew across the room. I don't have a big kitchen, but it's big enough that it probably went 5 or 6 feet
Sometimes entities and negative spirits will actually start doing violent or chaotic incidences in the household, like throwing items or attacking the family. I believe that they do this to stir up negative energy, such as fear, because that's their energy source. It's something that they feed off of.
I'm skeptical of, like, spirits and whatnot.
Around this time, a neighbor told Nikki that the previous tenant in her apartment had complained of being haunted.
One day, a girl showed up at my front door looking for her mail, and I realized that it was the girl that used to live in my apartment. She told me things used to fall off her walls all the time, the doors would shut, that her daughter saw a big and scary man, and sometimes she'd be talking to it, sometimes she'd be screaming. She told me the doorbell would ring. I said, well, that hasn't happened to me. I hadn't mentioned anything to my son, especially about what the neighbors had said and what the previous tenant said, because I don't want to scare him. So I just kind of let it go.
Nikki tried to carry on as normal for the sake of her son, but the entity in her home had different ideas.
I have an e-cigarette because I quit smoking, and I usually have it with me at all times or within reach, or I know where it is because I need it. So I had put it on my TV stand, and I think I went to do the dishes or something, and I came back to get it, and it wasn't there. I started looking through the whole apartment. I think I looked for probably a good hour, hour and a half. I started to yell. Probably about 30 seconds to a minute later, it was back on my living room floor, right in the center of my living room floor. And that was a little unnerving. The girl that lived downstairs had lived there for probably about 2 or 3 years by then, and she said that they'd gone through probably 4 or 5 tenants upstairs in the last 2 years, so I thought that was a little weird. I think it was probably the next day when the doorbell rang at 11:25 p.m. My heart was like pounding, and I thought, you know, who's gonna show up at my house at 11:30 at night? Like, it's crazy.
Nikki Playford had been experiencing strange incidents since moving into a new home.
There was something definitely going on. So I posted on social media. I basically just asked if anybody had ever experienced living in a place that they thought was haunted or whatever. What did they do? Did they get help? Like, I didn't know what to do. Like, what do you do? I got 450 replies. Someone referred me to a medium, Shannon, and I'm very skeptical about mediums.
The first thing I do is try and figure out if it's someone who just wants attention. So I made connection with her and spoke with her a little bit.
Shannon immediately picked up on Nikki's fear and confirmed that there was a strong male presence in her apartment.
I made a comment about the man that was in her home. I asked if there was a path nearby because I felt like he had passed either on a path or on some train tracks nearby.
As soon as she said tracks, I just knew it was Rodney. He was murdered about 3 years ago on train tracks. He was pushing his daughter in her stroller when someone ended up stabbing him and leaving him to die. He was related to my son.
Rodney was a distant relative of the family, and it was pure coincidence that Aiden was at the hospital the day he was brought in. Worried that Rodney's spirit was unhappy and causing the disturbances, Nikki asked Shannon to perform a cleansing ceremony.
I wasn't sure exactly what I was dealing with. I felt there was a negative energy.
We had Peterborough Paranormal come as well to help. They brought a lot of equipment. One thing being a ghost box, which I didn't know at the time was pretty much the same thing as a Ouija board, and it can invite things in.
And you can hear different voices coming across. It's like a radio when you're switching stations very quickly and you hear different words.
When they asked what it wanted, is when it said my son's name. It said murdered.
She was pretty freaked out. She was worrying that it meant Aiden was gonna be murdered or that Aiden was gonna murder someone. I mean, hearing those words randomly put together, you come up with a million different things that it could be. So she was definitely very worried.
Of course it scared me. Like, what are they gonna do to my son?
With a better understanding of the presence in her home, Nikki and Shannon carried out a cleansing, which allowed Rodney to communicate directly with the medium.
We decided to smudge the apartment.
So I used the sage and sweetgrass, and we went around her whole apartment.
Rodney told her that he was sticking around because he was scared.
He had like an inner turmoil, and negative energies will latch onto that.
He struggled with like drugs, and he had his demons, I guess you could say, and he was scared that because of some of the things he did in his life, he was gonna go to hell.
He didn't cross over right at that point. He wasn't ready to go yet. So before I left, I let her know sometimes it can take multiple times of us coming back to clear a space. I felt a little bit guilty when I left because I felt like there was still some energy there. It wasn't something that I felt like I could take care of on my own. I didn't want to tell her exactly what I was feeling. I wanted to wait and speak with my daughter so that we could figure out exactly what was going on.
Without disclosing all of her fears, Shannon advised Nikki to remove Aiden from the apartment, as he had been the main focus of the spirit.
So I sent him to my mom's. So the next day, as I'm laying down trying to sleep, I hear like thumping and dragging noises. And it's not just me hearing them. My dog, Lucy, would sit up and stare, and her ears would go up, and she'd be, like, on high alert, and something wasn't right. I'm, like, freaking out. I'm really scared. I'm all by myself in the house. Even my downstairs neighbor is gone away for the weekend. She's in Niagara Falls, so I am, like, completely alone in this entire house. I got on the phone and called Shannon. I was like, is everything gone? Like, I don't feel right. She's like, well, no. I said, like, is Rodney not gone? Like, I don't get it. Like, what's going on? She said, no, he's gone, but you have other things there. She told me whatever it is, it was invited in, and that it is in Aiden's room. She told me to salt the windowsills and then the threshold of the doorway from our front door and across Aiden's doorway so that it can't get out. So I did all that, and my son's bedroom door slammed shut.
After enlisting the help of a medium, Nikki Playford was desperate to believe her home was now safe. It wasn't long before she was disappointed.
My son's bedroom door slammed shut. I went and I opened the door about, I don't know, half a foot. And someone pushes me out of the room and slams the door shut. It felt like someone or something was standing in the doorway, like glaring at me. And so that really scared me. The only thing I can think of is that Rodney was there to try and protect us from whatever it was, and now that he's not there, it was like full force.
Nikki realized that cleansing the home of Rodney's spirit had been a mistake. With his family connection to her son Aiden, the spirit had been protecting the two of them.
The next night, Shannon and her daughter came back because Chelsea is the one that deals with these types of things.
Chelsea is definitely more connected to other energies that don't make themselves known to me.
When I got to Nikki's, I felt dread. I felt a lot of negative, overwhelming energy. It felt like it wanted to hurt people. It felt like it wanted to hurt me. We don't normally get something that powerful.
My daughter and I went into the room together.
It was just overwhelming energy. It was heavy. It was like I'd hit a wall and I couldn't take a step forward.
I was a little bit shocked because I don't normally deal with that kind of energy.
And we were saying the Lord's Prayer, Our Father, and every time we got to that point, deliver us from evil, every time we said those words, we both got goosebumps through our whole body. And it was just like, whew, like that's what we were dealing with, was evil.
And I could see a big black mask.
It looked like a bat, but like a man. It was just all black, and there were wings that were with it too.
Kind of like a big gargoyle.
It was very large, and I just felt like it was just right in front of me. And that's when we were calling on like archangels to come and help. We saw, it sounds crazy.
This is gonna sound crazy, but we saw angels come in.
And my mom asked me what I'm seeing, and I told her, because she was seeing the same thing of this angel come in, and more than one were trying to take this entity out of the room. And it was like a battle.
And it's like they were fighting right there in front of us and trying to take what was there out. It wouldn't leave. And then was ripped away and was dragged out of the house.
And we felt like it was gone. I've never seen a struggle before to take away an energy, and that was fearful for me. This is the worst house clearing we've ever done. We've done lots. That's definitely the worst one.
All the activity stopped in my apartment the very next day. It was calm, I wasn't scared. If I didn't go through it, I wouldn't believe it.
Protective spirits are often drawn to children. In Nikki's case, it was a deceased relative of her son. For the Rose family, it was their young daughter who would end up needing a spirit protector.
Round, you take 4, it become a marker.
I was 25 years old and I was single. I was looking for a house to start a family in. And found this place, and as soon as I walked up to it, I knew it was the place for me. I had to have it. It's a large 2-story house, 6 bedrooms, got an acre of land and 3-4 buildings in the backyard. And the house was here for over 100 years. It's a really unique property. Before I even bought the house, the owner gave me a key to move stuff in. I had a couch here, and I was sleeping in the living room. I got woken up about 2 o'clock in the morning. I heard all the cabinet doors slamming shut in the kitchen. And I got up and went in there thinking someone was in there.
It was Ronnie Rose's first night in his new home, and already he was feeling far from comfortable.
There's no one there, and all the doors were shut. At first, I thought it was an intruder that came in, but upon going in, I was only 1 room away, so there's no way they could have got out in that time. I just pulled the covers over my head after that and fell asleep till morning, but I was really scared, felt something was in there. The next morning, everything was fine, so I kind of tried to push away, like, you know, maybe I was half asleep.
Ronnie tried to convince himself it was all nothing, but whatever had caused the strange incident had other ideas.
I started hearing, like, footsteps upstairs when I was alone, and at night you'd hear stuff dropping on the floor, and sometimes you just get a feeling that someone was there with you even though you were alone.
It was becoming ever more difficult to ignore the worrying events.
I was in the house a few weeks at this point.
It's really boss, man. Deep purple, keeping it
I was in a spare bedroom. I was going in the dresser, getting some clothes out. And it was the middle of the day, window was open, it was sunny.
How was the trip?
I looked up and I saw a little girl. Probably about 5, 6 years old, wearing a white dress with dark hair. Her back was turned to me, standing in the doorway of the room I was in. I couldn't see her face, but I could just see black hair with a long white dress that almost touched the floor. And she was kind of see-through looking. And then she walked out across the hallway into another bedroom and then just disappeared in the doorway. I startled when I saw it, and I just kind of thought I was imagining and tried to push that away because I knew I was alone in the house. I didn't have any children, so it was out of place to me.
Ronnie's hopes that it was all a figment of his imagination were dashed when his brother moved in with him.
My brother stayed here for a few weeks when he was getting his first apartment. He asked me the next morning, "Were you in my room last night?" And I said, "No." He said, "You weren't leaning over my bed with your face by me?" I said, "No, I was upstairs sleeping." He described what the man looked like and what he was wearing. The man's probably about 6 feet tall, gray hair, wearing a white shirt. When he said he saw that, I did believe him. The man that built our house actually died in that bedroom.
Along with the house, Ronnie had inherited an album of old photos from the previous owners.
I showed a picture of the man that built the house with his 4 sons, and he instantly pointed to the man in the center of the photo and said, "That was the guy I saw last night." I kind of felt a little relieved that someone else that was at this house experienced something, and it wasn't someone that I knew. I feel that his presence is here because he built this house, he built the business that was here, he's got a lot of memories here.
It's pretty typical for somebody who built or designed a house or is very attached to their home to stay in that home in the afterlife after they've died. They feel some sort of ownership of the house still, or that they feel a little bit possessive of it. And oftentimes they'll make themselves known and really establish that this is their house still.
Although the incidents were unsettling, Ronnie was determined to get on with his life.
I bought the house in hopes of meeting someone, starting a family. I didn't know Candace would be that person.
When I first met Ronnie, he did have the house. He lived here for almost a year before him and I met.
We both had the same ideas on what we wanted in life, family and everything. And after about a month or two, her lease was actually up on her apartment, and I told her to move in here.
I really loved the house. I loved the age of it. I loved the style of the house and how open it was. And both of us loved the backyard.
We decided to get married eventually and have a family. I never really talked to her about anything that had happened here.
Happy to be together, the couple were oblivious to any other activity in their home until Ronnie started chatting with his neighbors.
I'm still friendly with the people I bought the house from, and they always told me a story that the old man had buried money somewhere in the house. And there's a little room in the basement that he had built to make wine in, and there's a little bump out in the foundation on the wall, like a shelf that's about 2 feet wide by 6 feet. It seemed like a really odd thing to be there, so I broke out the concrete and started digging to see if I could find anything. Not even knowing if the story is true or not, but just trying to check it out. And my wife, Candace, was with me at the time. And we were down there for about a half hour, breaking the concrete and digging a hole out. All of a sudden, we felt really overbearing presence, like something wanted us out of there.
Learning that the man who built his house had hidden some treasure in the property, Ronnie Rose set about investigating a strange section of the wall in the basement.
And we were down there for about a half hour, breaking the concrete and digging a hole out. All of a sudden, we felt really overbearing presence, like something wanted us out of there.
It's very overwhelming when you're in that area. You just immediately feel like something is right there with you. They are really trying to tell you you are not supposed to be here.
It's just a really unnerving feeling, like someone was angry with us and wanted us to be away and stop doing what we were doing in that spot. We decided we better stop doing this and went upstairs.
Sometimes spirits will stay here on Earth because they have unresolved issues, such as feeling possessive or needing to guard a certain item. So say if somebody buried cash or money in the basement, that spirit will still feel possessive of that item. They will feel the need to protect it and guard against that so that other people will not discover the item.
The rest of the night, no matter where we were in the house, there's always a strong presence that was scaring us the rest of the night. Whenever I go near that spot, even if it's nothing to do with digging the hole or anything, I start feeling a presence around me, no matter what time of day or night it is.
Ronnie and Candace took the hint and never tried to open the wall again. Shortly after the basement incident, Candace gave birth to their first child.
Things progressively got stronger after we had Kaylee.
At night, putting our daughter to bed in her room, my wife would hear voices, like a woman's voice whispering in her ear when she was sitting in the rocking chair at night.
I would fall asleep rocking her, and somebody was always standing behind her door. And when I drifted off to sleep, I would be awoken by a whisper, and I could tell it was a little girl's whisper. And I couldn't make out what she was saying to me, but I could tell that she was trying to talk.
Ronnie could not shake the nagging fear that his family might be at risk.
After my daughter was a few months old, she would always wake up around the same time in the middle of the night crying, and when you'd walk in a room, you'd get a really strange feeling that someone was in there. It was scary. We decided to get a baby monitor to listen, and we'd hear whispers in there.
Candace went back to bed, hoping it was an isolated incident. Until one night.
We were in our bedroom. And we would just be like, "Did you hear that?" And he's like, "Yeah." Ronnie said, "Yeah, I heard that." Like, you think you're crazy. That was spooky because we had physically hurt it ourselves, but not being removed from it. Like, and you know your kid's in there and you can't take her out of there immediately. And like there's something in there with her and you don't know, are these things bad? You know, is she going to be harmed in some way?
We got a monitor with a video screen on it, and whenever our daughter would start crying and fussing in the middle of the night, we'd look at it. And you could see orbs flying all around in the room. And then we'd have to go get her because at this point she was really crying. Something was scaring her in there.
The couple were almost at their wits' end, but then the activity in Kaylee's room stopped and everything went back to normal for a while.
When she got older and she could talk, she was always looking at her closet door at night, and she always wanted the door to be shut. We asked Kaylee what was bothering her in the room, if she was seeing things.
A series of unexplained events had plagued Ronnie Rose and his wife Candace in their new home. Now the activity seemed to be focusing on their daughter, Kaylee.
We asked Kaylee what was bothering her in the room, if she was seeing things. And she'd say that she saw red eyes. And she's scary looking because her face looks messed up on the one side. And she always tries to talk to her and be near her, and she's just scary to look at, so she would cry because she didn't know what to do. She didn't know what it was.
Kaylee described her as being young, sort of longish hair, and she would always say that her face was messed up, that there was something wrong with her face, and that's what scared her.
We were worried for her daughter. We didn't know if whatever was in there was going to do something to hurt her, or she's going to be traumatized from being scared all the time. So we wanted to find some kind of resolution to it. We decided to have someone come investigate and see if they could back up what we were experiencing.
Which prompted us to contact a paranormal investigation team.
I called John Griffin. He has a paranormal research team, and he came out.
Ronnie and Candace called me. Their family was frightened, specifically more so their daughter. They were really worried about their daughter. We had one of our intuitives volunteered to come and do a walkthrough of the house. He immediately was drawn to the second floor, particularly the daughter's room, and that he saw this little girl with a burnt face. We decided we would do a cleansing for their house.
It worked for a while. Kaylee told us that the ghost in the room said that after the baby was born, Daddy would be here, but Mommy won't.
Kaylee would come up to Ronnie and she said, "Daddy, you're gonna be okay, but Mommy's not going to be."
We didn't know what to think when a 3-year-old is telling us someone that we can't see is telling her these things. We didn't know what to think about it.
Ronnie and Candace decided to dig a little deeper into the background of the house.
Because of the history of the house, we want to have the property on the historical registry. So we were doing research. We went down to the Historical Society in Schenectady, and we told them where we lived, and the woman instantly said, "Do you want to find out about the ghost that's there?" And we said, "We were just trying to find out about the property. How do you know there's a ghost?" And for a couple of years before I bought the house, it was vacant, and there was sporadic tenants renting the place. And a woman that lived there before me had went down there trying to find out if there was any ghost. We had John and his team come back out, and they investigated some more. John came with the psychic.
We found that there was a family, a mother, a father, and a little girl.
The psychic told us that a few blocks from here, there was a fire, probably in 1920s or 30s, and this little girl had lived at that house. And her father was kind of mean to her, so she liked hanging out at our house with the kids. So she was always over here.
And the little girl had actually died in a fire.
When she died in the fire, her face was disfigured on one side.
And her spirit came to this house because all her memories of good things happening were here, so she felt more at home at this house.
It's believed that when you're a spirit, you have free choice. So if you think about the places that you've enjoyed visiting in your lifetime, things that you have fond memories of, spirits oftentimes will go back to a location that they have happy memories of because it brings them peace, it brings them joy. And, you know, they like to go there physically. And so oftentimes these spirits will return to a location they have memories of.
The psychic described what the man looked like, and it was the same man in the photo I have.
Could this be the spirit that was taking over Ronnie's house?
In the basement, we just feel a really strong presence at night, kind of scary. No matter how many lights or anything you have on, you don't want to be down there alone at night. John did some EVPs down there. He said it was an evil spirit was there.
So we ended up having to come back out and bless again.
John believed the house had both positive and negative spirits. Far from trying to harm Kaylee, the little ghost girl in the bedroom was trying to protect her from evil.
John didn't know who the evil entity was, just that they were trying to suppress the good spirits that are in the house. The little ghost girl that's in the house would always try to play with my daughter at night, and that's what was keeping her up. She wasn't there to scare her, but they were around the same age, so the ghost thought this could be a playmate for her.
The little girl is a good spirit. She was just scary in appearance because of the way she died. So she still has the disfigured face. And to any little child, that would be scary to see, especially in the middle of the night, waking up and that's what appears before you. But she is a good spirit. We're told by John that she was sent here from God to protect Kaylee.
We didn't want the good spirits that we feel should be in this house to leave, just the ones that were contributing negative aspects to what's going on. John came with the psychic, and they said prayers, and they were burning sage in the rooms and sprinkling holy water around, trying to get the evil spirits to leave.
Deliver us from evil. Deliver us from evil, Lord. Cleanse this house of evil, Lord. Evil spirit, leave this house.
Right now, our house is pretty much normal. Once in a while, we'll experience a few things at night, but it's not the negative spirits that used to be here. We feel it's just a family, and they're in their house, and they're not going to leave, and we're okay with that because they built this place. They have a lot of memories here, and those ghosts don't bother us. So when we do experience it, we kind of know who it is.